다녀왔어요.
At 10 p.m., a woman stood in the kitchen, slicing cucumbers. Suddenly, the front door lock clicked and swung open. Her daughter had come home, but she was soaked to the bone. As if something terrible had happened, the stepmother froze, gripping the knife tightly, too scared to turn around. Then the daughter spoke.
다녀왔어요.
What she said made the stepmother tremble uncontrollably because her daughter had died long ago. Yet every night at 10 p.m., Yeosian returned home right on time, always pausing at the kitchen door. When the stepmother ignored her, Yeosian would quietly retreat to her room, her face full of sadness. The moment Yeosian disappeared into her room, the stepmother would crawl under the table in terror. And every time, she'd peek out only to see the bedroom door crack open ever so slightly. Yeosian's cold, ghostly eyes staring back at her, filled with blame. If only that stormy night, 7 days ago, she had gone to pick Yeosian up. That night, Yeosian's after-school class ended at 10. Since her stepmother never came to pick her up, she had no choice but to walk home alone in the pouring rain. Just then, a car pulled over. The door opened. It was the neighbor from downstairs. Yeosian got in, unsuspecting. She didn't know this neighbor was a monster. As soon as they entered the building, he clamped a hand over her mouth and dragged her into his apartment. She screamed in terror. The front door was just a few steps away. Meanwhile, her stepmother was braving the storm, rushing to pick her up only to end up in a car crash. By then, Yeosian was already tied up inside Sun Hyuk's home. She begged, over and over, voice shaking with fear, but Sun Hyuk only gave her a cruel smile. He ordered a pizza as part of some twisted ritual and forced Yeosian to eat. Then he put on an apron, picked up the hammer, and ended her life. He packed her body into a suitcase. The next day, the suitcase was found and made the news, but with no leads. The police were at a loss. And just like that, Sun Hyuk felt a wave of twisted satisfaction. Yeosian was just his sixth victim, but that red suitcase on the news caught someone's eye. A luggage store owner recognized it instantly. A man in a hat had come in 6 times, each time buying the exact same suitcase. And each time, a murder would be discovered the very next day. The shop owner wanted to call the police, but his wife, afraid it might hurt business, told him to stay out of it. He hesitated and said nothing. Meanwhile, a delivery guy suddenly remembered something strange. There was a man nearby who ordered pizza every 10 days, always the night before a body was found. But he was too busy and soon forgot all about it. Just like that, 2 crucial clues were lost. Meanwhile, ever since she realized Yeosian was dead, the stepmother had been living in constant fear. Every night Yeosian returned, she would hide under the table, clutching a crucifix. One night, the door lock clicked again, but it was just her husband. She breathed a sigh of relief.
여보, 나 이 집에 혼자 있기 싫어요.
여선이 장례 치르느라 일이 너무 많이 밀렸어.
오늘도 왔어요.
Yet when he saw her terrified face, he grew impatient. He pushed open Yeosian's bedroom door only to find it completely empty. The stepmother was stunned. She had just seen Yeosian walk in.
어떻게 엄마라는 사람이 딸을 무서워할 수가 있어. 난 꿈에서라도 좋으니까 우리 여선이 다시 볼 수 있었으면 좋겠어. 그래, 당신은 여선이를 당신 딸이라고 생각한 적이 없었던 거야.
True, she was just a stepmother, but she had never treated Yeosian unfairly. So why did Yeosian keep coming back to haunt her? Meanwhile, downstairs, Sun Hyuk was scrubbing blood off the floor. Just then, the doorbell rang. He cautiously cracked the door open only to find a burly man standing outside.
착하네. 그 까만색 소나타 그 차주요?
He slammed the door so suddenly, Hyukemo's eyelashes fluttered in shock. Not long after, while moving his car, Sun Hyuk clashed with Hyukemo again. The man's tattooed arms and intimidating aura made Sun Hyuk instantly back down. But Hyukemo noticed something: 6 clean scars on Sun Hyuk's arm. He stared, suspicious. Sun Hyuk quickly pulled down his sleeve and drove off. He didn't know those scars were trophies, each one a proud display of his kills. At that same moment, a sanitation worker discovered a bag of rotting meat in the trash. The stench unbearable. Slapped on the bag was Sun Hyuk's delivery address. Furious, The workers stormed over, still fuming from his run-in with Hyuk Mao. Sun Hyuk grew even more irritated when he heard another knock at the door. He dumped the bag of trash right at Sun Hyuk's doorstep. Suddenly, something tumbled out of the bag, Yeoseon's blood-stained school uniform. The sanitation worker froze, realization hitting hard. But before he could move, Sun Hyuk raised his hammer. Another murder, this time in the stairwell. Just then, the stepmother returned. She spotted blood on the floor and panicked. Looking up, she saw Sun Hyuk calmly mopping broken wine bottle nearby. She assumed it was just spilled red wine and rushed back home. Crisis averted. Sun Hyuk ordered another pizza to celebrate. Another murder, but this time, the delivery guy noticed something. Sun Hyuk's hat was the same as the one seen near the latest crime scene. He suspected Sun Hyuk had gone to watch the chaos unfold when Yeoseon's body was found. Still, he said nothing. While enjoying his pizza, Sun Hyuk quietly cleaned up the mess. Just as he was basking in his success, the security guard called.
102호 수도세가 너무 많이 나와서 수도관 누수가 있나 해서요.
Then the doorbell rang. Startled, he rushed to answer, but in the chaos, his phone slipped, landing straight into the suitcase. And then, the true horror, from behind the door came a voice he knew all too well. Yeoseon was back. 10 days ago, he killed Yeoseon, yet now, she was standing at his door, perfectly unharmed. Sun Hyuk froze in terror, then scrambled to stuff the unprocessed remains into the fridge. Just then, the security guard showed up asking to check the water pipes. Sun Hyuk coldly turned him away, but the guard insisted on coming in. In the bathroom, the guard found bottles of disinfectant stacked high, and the drain clogged with hair and meat scraps. Sun Hyuk had short hair and lived alone. The guard remembered Yeoseon, and suspicion crept in. But Sun Hyuk also reached for a knife ready to strike. The guard gripped his pliers tightly, faked a quick inspection, and left in a hurry. That was all Sun Hyuk needed to know. This place was no longer safe. He packed up, ready to flee that very night. But when buying a ferry ticket, he realized his phone was missing. He rushed back home to find it. A ringtone echoed from inside the suitcase. Panicked, he tried to unlock it, but entered the wrong code. Frustrated, he slammed the suitcase against the floor.
괜히 이상한 년을 건드려놔서 한 방에 정리하고 배 타자.
His escape plan collapsed. Desperate, he decided to frame Hyuk Mao. Hyuk Mao was just too damn annoying. Every time Old Park parked a little out of line, he'd start lecturing him, but against real power, all Old Park could do was take the beating. Still, in this game, the one who laughs last wins. To frame Hyuk Mao, Sun Hyuk borrowed the luggage store owner's phone and made a single harassing call to him. Hyuk Mao, annoyed by the unknown number, called back right away. That one call was all it took. A call log now tied the two together. Sun Hyuk then ditched the phone back in the shop and kidnapped the store owner. With the phone left behind as planted evidence, the trap was set. The police traced the shop owner's phone to its last call, quickly identified Hyuk Mao, and brought him in for questioning. Meanwhile, Sun Hyuk kidnapped the shop owner, intending to kill him and shift the blame. When the delivery man brought the pizza, he noticed the cash handed to him was stained with blood. But the moment he took a peek, Sun Hyuk noticed.
왜 오밤중에 남의 집을
The one who saved the food delivery guy was none other than the security guard. The security guard knew full well that Sun Hyuk was a killer, but instead of turning him in, he covered it up and even snapped at the poor delivery guy to get lost. Turns out, the guard had a murder on his own hands. With just 5 months left until Korea's 15-year statute of limitations ran out, he was this close to walking free, and he wasn't about to let Sun Hyuk ruin that. Meanwhile, Sun Hyuk wasn't exactly laying low. He was sharpening his knife, ready to kill the suitcase shop owner. But just then, something truly spine-chilling happened. The girl he'd killed days ago, Yeoseon, suddenly appeared. Her cold, ghostly stare froze Sun Hyuk in his tracks. Still, a guy like Sun Hyuk wasn't about to stop killing for long. Raging with frustration, he grabbed a steel pipe and went after Hyuk Mao.
그럼 뭐냐? 그 지금 웃기려고 그러냐?
죽여봐 이 등신아. 네가 사람을 죽여본 적이나 있냐? 맨날 말로만 떠드는 새끼가. 나는 말로 안 해. 죽이고 싶으면 그냥 죽여 이 새끼야.
He slapped Sun Hyuk so hard the guy saw stars. then grabbed him by the hair and slammed his head into the wall. Dazed and in pain, Sun Hyuk watched in fear as Hyukimo picked up the pipe. He immediately dropped to his knees and begged for mercy. Hyukimo spat on him and strutted away without a care, but Sun Hyuk just smiled eerily. Back home, Sun Hyuk turned the steel pipe into a shovel, a burial tool covered in nothing but Hyukimo's fingerprints. Then he smeared Hyukimo's fingerprints and saliva all over it, stuffed it into a suitcase along with the murdered street cleaner, and dumped the whole thing to erase every trace. When the police started investigating the boss's disappearance, all signs pointed to Hyukimo. Even though he had an alibi, there was no explaining that phone call. The police suspected Hyukimo was hiding something, so they took his fingerprints. Right then, the street cleaner's dismembered body was discovered and the prints on the murder weapon matched his perfectly. And just like that, the murder case that had puzzled the police for days fell squarely on Hyukimo's shoulders. To throw the case into even more chaos, Sun Hyuk set his sights on Suyeon, the sweet, well-loved daughter of the neighborhood committee director. If anything happened to her, it would send shockwaves through the whole community. As Suyeon walked to school, Sun Hyuk silently followed her, unaware the security guard had noticed him. That night, at 10 p.m., Suyeon's mom had a committee meeting and couldn't pick her up. The guard, suddenly feeling uneasy, decided to go get her himself. On the way, a broadcast announced a murder suspect had been caught. The guard assumed it was Sun Hyuk. He had no idea it was Hyukimo. Meanwhile, Hyukimo started to piece things together and realized he'd been framed by Sun Hyuk. Back at Sun Hyuk's place, the boss made his move while Sun Hyuk was out using nothing but his tongue. He cracked open the suitcase's combination lock. He cracked the lock, broke the chair with all the strength he had left, and finally got his hands free. He reached for the phone, hit redial, and right then, the screen went black. The delivery guy happened to spot the number, and when he looked it up, he realized it belonged to Sun Hyuk. Meanwhile, heavy rain started pouring down. The stepmother grew uneasy. Yeoseon had been killed on a rainy night just like this. Worried, she grabbed an umbrella and headed to the school gate. Seeing no one else had come to pick up Suyeon, she feared history might repeat itself, so she took the girl home herself. Sun Hyuk followed behind them, frustrated that he still hadn't found the right moment to strike. The heavy rain caused a short circuit, plunging everything into darkness. In that sudden blackness, the chaos of the world faded away, and for once, people could finally hear the voice within. A flicker of kindness stirred, growing more urgent by the second. The delivery guy, sensing something was wrong, called the police and ran through the rain towards Sun Hyuk's place. The security guard, too, stopped running. He headed for Suyeon's house to check on her, only to find out she hadn't come home yet. Meanwhile, Hyukimo, falsely accused, escaped from the police station, determined to confront Sun Hyuk. Dark thoughts were rising too. Sun Hyuk suddenly slammed the brakes, tilting his head as he stared intently at Suyeon. The stepmother caught his gaze and felt a wave of fear crash over her. She grabbed Suyeon's hand and ran, but after only a few steps, the girl stumbled and fell. Sensing his moment had come, Sun Hyuk gripped his knife and reached for the car door, but the stepmother pulled Suyeon up and sprinted straight into the middle of the road. Cars screeched to a halt, horns blaring, headlights bathed them in light, like a wall of strangers' kindness, surrounding and protecting the two. Sun Hyuk was livid, but then, Suyeon turned around, and in that instant, she wasn't Suyeon. She looked exactly Yeoseon. He slammed the gas and sped off, terrified that Yeoseon's ghost would come back to haunt him. He needed to destroy the evidence and disappear, but the moment he got home, he saw the boss had already broken free. Without hesitation, Sun Hyuk struck him down with a knife. He began dousing the room in gasoline, but then the doorbell rang.
서비스 피자 때문에요. 쿠폰이 다 차서.
The delivery guy walked in and set the pizza down. Sun Hyuk gripped his knife, ready to strike again. Right then the security guard arrived. All he had was a pair of pliers. He charged in, but couldn't take Sun Hyuk down. Worse, he made him angrier. Then came the footsteps, heavy, steady, echoing from downstairs, each one like a hammer on Sun Hyuk's chest. Hyukimo was here. Framing him had been a mistake, a big one. As Hyukimo threw his punches, the power came back on. The security guard rushed in, desperate, shouting, "Where's Suyeon?" Sun Hyuk smirked and deliberately misled him.
나도 잘 모르겠어. 내가 진짜로 그녀를 죽였는지.
Then, in a haze of panic and grief, he thought he saw Soo-yeon's body. Overwhelmed with guilt, he grabbed a hammer and before anyone could stop him, he brought it down on Sun Hyuk's skull. Sun Hyuk died on the spot, but then the security guard froze. What he'd seen wasn't Soo-yeon, it was his own nightmare, his guilt, his demons. The police arrived soon after. The nightmare was over. The security guard stood in silence, ready to confess he had blood on his hands too, but no one ever mentioned him. Sometimes, when justice comes too late, someone has to face the devil first. Under the cover of night, the security guard turned and walked away. This time, his heart was clear. The stepmother no longer feared Yeoseon's return. When Yeoseon returned for the last time, the stepmother finally turned to her and gently asked, "Are you hungry?"
배고프지? 밥 먹자.
Tears welled up in Yeoseon's eyes. When she was taken, all she wanted was to come home, to be seen, to be saved. That's why she kept returning, until her wish was finally fulfilled. The two embraced, sobbing. Mother and daughter, holding each other in a moment that never came until now. After that night, Yeoseon was never seen again. Peace returned to the neighborhood, and the ordinary people went back to living their ordinary lives.